a second home rather than hotel bills.
If you were elected MP for Leighton Linslade, what is the most important thing you would fight for on behalf of the community that isn't already happening?
Section 106 agreements, which is the agreement that large house builders have with the planning authority. That's where, for example, on the Sandhills estate, there's supposed to be a new school being built. It's part of the agreement that Taylor Wimpey are supposed to build this school, and there's a crossing there and a signpost for it and no school. And last year they stopped building because of the recession and not enough people were buying houses. They stopped building houses and they just up and left the site. And what they should have been doing was fulfilling their Section 106 agreements. Now that would have made two differences. First of all, it would have kept the guys who were on the sites in some work. The funding was there under the PFI projects to build those new schools. Not only that, in their own self-interest, if they had built that school, it would have made their own estate more attractive, and therefore when the housing market picked up, it would have made people want to buy on that estate because the school was already there. And to add to that, when we were talking about congestion earlier on, if the people on that estate can take their kids to a local school, then they don't need to add to the traffic in the town centre, clogging up the roads even further. So if those Section 106 agreements had been enforced, it would have made a difference to the town.
So why aren't the councils enforcing the S106 agreements?
Councils aren't enforcing the Section 106 agreements for two reasons. Well, there's two reasons. First of all, there was a large lobbying group of national house builders went to the national government and said, can we be not set free from our Section 106 agreements, but in light of the recession, can we delay having to fulfil those Section 106 agreements? And no formal agreement was actually made, but there was kind of a feeling then from local councils that they didn't have to enforce them because the national government was going to say, you know, give them some breathing space. This wasn't necessarily the best way to go because, like I said, with the likes of schools, the money was there. The government had already put the PFI money out there for the schools to be built. There was no reason for the builders not to build the schools. Central Beds fairly recently had a consultation about how their enforcement procedures were going to go for the planning, and they had a very washy, can I say, response to their enforcement procedures for 106 agreements. It just said, we have the powers to enforce Section 106 agreements, and it gave no time scale or no urgency or any procedures for whether or not they were going to. And I could make a comment about it being a Tory-run council.
What is your favourite thing about Leighton Buzzard and Linslade? Why do you want to be MP here, and what are your links to the area?
Alright. Yeah, my accent is a dead giveaway that I'm not a local person, although I do live here. I've lived here since 2006, and we chose to live in Leighton Buzzard due to geography. It was close enough to my husband's work and my work, and we were looking for the train link into London, especially into Euston because I went to UCL, and house prices, and it fit in this town, fit all three bills, so we came here. Since I've moved here, I've actually become quite attached to the area. I'm from a small fishing village, so I prefer smaller towns. And although the town is growing and is quite large, it does have that small town feel when you go into the town centre, which I like. I like being surrounded by countryside. If I can't be next to the sea where I was born, I like to be, you know, in the countryside and in the canals, so that give me that little bit of water, which I like. What keeps me here now, and my ties to the area I'm here now, well, my son was born in the L&D, and the house that I'm in now is the house that my son was born into and will grow up in. and that is a very strong tie now to the area. My son's a local.
Should I vote for an individual person or the party they represent in a general election? Will you just do whatever your party tell you if you become MP?
When you vote for your MP, you are voting on two platforms. You are voting for that individual and you are voting for a party, unless you choose to vote for an independent candidate. So, because every voter can't come to my house and have a cup of tea with me and see how, what sort of person I am and find out what my individual likes and dislikes are as compared to them, then the party is a way of assessing which way I'm likely to vote in matters in Westminster. They're going to say, okay, on national issues, that's the way that person's going to go. Now, the information that will come out to all the households will tell you what my policies are on a more local level. So, and when you've got an issue which is important to this area, and although it may be against the party line, if it is very strongly in the best interest of this constituency for me to vote against the party, then the primary role of an MP is to represent the constituents in Parliament, and I would have to go with the constituency view. But on the whole, the voters are going to have to obviously understand that if they vote for the Labour candidate, then the Labour candidate is going to vote with the Labour Party the majority of the time. I think the national government stepping in and deciding where extra housing is going to be, and to have put the extra number of housing on this area, I would have stood up and argued against that, because they didn't consider how well the infrastructure of the towns can cope with that many extra houses, and I would have been more against that. And besides, deciding on planning issues is a local level issue and not a national level issue, and possibly they overstep the boundaries on that.
So you've heard from our parliamentary candidates for the general election. Don't forget to vote on the 6th of May. And thanks for your questions as well. And don't forget to watch LBtv online.